Welcome to Regenerative Nutrition Part 3. There's no living organism that does not depend on air and water. Therefore, we should regard these as the first foundation of regenerative nutrition. Breath is life. Next is water. We should drink plenty of pure water, which cleanses and nourishes our entire system, and take time to open our chest and breathe deeply, which is absolutely essential to healthy cellular metabolism, as well as providing physical and emotional energy and poise. The body fluids are a little alkaline. The best way to maintain a healthy alkalinity in your body is as simple and inexpensive as deep breathing. Deep, slow inhalations and exhalations alkalize the body. They nourish every cell, which requires oxygen, along with food-related elements to generate the energy that drives repair. I see so many people suffering anxiety, and probably everyone will have some anxiety at some point of their life. But nowadays, anxiety and panic is seen quite frequently in the clinic. What I've so often have observed is that people suffering in this way tense their chest, they're barely breathing, and they've withdrawn their awareness up into their head, where their thoughts spin around in a more and more confined space, driven by their very shallow breathing. Deep breathing with attention can be a very powerful way to come away from this anxious state. Learning how to draw air down into your belly, imagining the energy of breath moving through your body, down through your legs and feet, and into the earth. This is a very grounding exercise that can be quite common. Many world traditions teach methods of breath control and breath exercises. There's a whole aspect of yoga that is dedicated to the art of breath, known as pranayama. The term pranayama refers to extending the simple act of breathing in various specific ways as a conscious method of cultivating our life force, or prana. So the long and the short of it is plenty of deep breaths and plenty of fresh water. Stephen Cherniske is a biochemist and nutritionist who's been a strong influence for some years now. He's the author of 4 excellent books, and I would strongly recommend his book, The Metabolic Plan, or his newest book, The Metabolic Makeover, co-written with his wife, medical doctor Natalie Cather. It's a valuable, up-to-date overview of diet, supplementation, and the overall issue of metabolic health. I respect his balanced and rigorous approach to health facts versus what he terms nutribabble. Stephen is also the author of the model we see here, the metabolic seesaw of damage and repair. This is an excellent model to understand the basic process to which we are all subject. When we are very young, the repair side of the seesaw is very high. At about age 30, damage and repair are about equal. And thereafter, we are dealing with an increase in damage and a decrease in the efficiency of repair. The ultimate purpose of various health practices, foods and products, is to push down on the damaged side of the seesaw and push up on the repair side, so that, as Stephen puts it, you can look, feel, and perform your best at every age. One of the most damaging forces in the body, one that is quite uniquely impacted by the modern diet, is our blood sugar level. Generally, through the course of the day, our blood sugar should have gentle, wave-like upward and downward motion in response to our meals. Meals that spike our blood sugar create a wide array of cumulative cardiovascular and systemic damage. Furthermore, what our body can't utilize is turned to fat. As we age, we often develop what is termed insulin resistance. And you can be skinny or large for this to occur. Insulin forms gates on the cell that allow for the absorption of glycogen, the broken down form of carbohydrate, where it is burned as fuel. When we are insulin resistant, insulin does not form the necessary gates. The sugar stays outside the cell, where glycation, which is sugar-protein or sugar-fat or protein-protein bonding, and fat production becomes more likely. When glycation happens, The sugar can't do what it was supposed to do, and the protein or fat molecule can't do what it was supposed to do. And this gooey mass falls to the lining of the artery and becomes one of the factors in atherosclerosis, or hardening and plaque developments in the cardiovascular system. These masses are called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, and can not only be damaging to the arteries, but also to the cells throughout the body, to the nervous system, and to the skin, where AGEs can become a key factor in skin aging, damaging the collagen and elastin. This process can also gum up cells. In adult onset diabetes and obesity, insulin resistance is one of the main factors. One of the reasons that exercise is so important, that is because it creates demands on our cellular energy that enhances metabolic efficiency. The morning sets the stage for your blood sugar waves throughout the day. Be cautious with your quantities and types of foods in the morning, as well as the snacks you reach for later. While nutrition in the morning is very important, a very rapid rise of blood sugar from sugar-laden meals, or even excessive bread or fruit, can cause significant hikes in blood sugar that can dampen moods, lower energy, and mental clarity. It is important to understand that pure sugars, whether white sugar or fructose, for all intents and purposes are destructive in diverse ways. They contain no essential nutrients, are very hard on the teeth, on mental clarity and focus, and are a leading driver of heart disease, obesity, and diabetes. At home, we make a remarkable morning smoothie and use primarily berries along with nuts, seeds, often avocado, essential fatty acids, protein powders, often powdered greens, and various other nutritional factors that make a nutrient-dense morning drink. This is filling and absorbs slowly through the course of the morning. The proteins and oils slow carbohydrate absorption, though it is still a good idea to drink a smoothie slowly over time. While we're on the subject of breakfast, I would like to say that it surprises me how very little research there is on breakfast cereal. What I've found indicates that breakfast cereals cause a rapid rise in blood sugar even when they're not sweetened, which is rare. The processing of grain for cereal allows their sugars to be very rapidly assimilated, leading, as I mentioned, to a rapid blood sugar rise. Not a great breakfast idea, and not a great evening snack, which is the latest marketing push, by the way. Regarding granola, a great snack, but basically crumbled cookies. Oats is an interesting case. While many nutritionists assert that oatmeal is good for blood sugar issues, a bowl of oatmeal in the morning seems to spike the blood sugar in those with insulin resistance concerns. Now, is it the use of sugar along with the oatmeal? Is that the real culprit, or is it the breakdown of the oats itself from the cooking? I suspect it's a bit of both. One of my favorite breakfasts is just to soak some quick organic oats with nuts and seeds, maybe some grated apple. Soak it with enough water to cover for 10 minutes, and this is great with dairy or seed yogurt. Really adds a lot of nutritional value as well. Thick rolled oats require soaking overnight if you prefer them. Some people prefer soups or protein foods in the morning, supporting a slower blood sugar rise. If you blow out your blood sugar in the morning, it tends to be hard to stabilize through the remainder of the day. By the way, millet makes a great breakfast cereal as well. You've probably heard the phrase glycemic index. I'd like to briefly explain glycemic index and an even more accurate measure called glycemic load. Glycemic index is more important than calories, while glycemic load is more functionally accurate than glycemic index. Calories tell you the carbohydrate content of a given food. Glycemic index ranks foods according to their actual impact on your blood sugar within a fairly short period of time. To measure glycemic index, testers eat a food in whatever quantity will provide 50 grams of carbohydrates. Blood sugar levels are measured over a 2-hour period and rated according to a 1 to 100 reference range. Sugar or white bread provides the 100-point standard. Low GI is 1 to 55, medium GI or glycemic index is 56 to 69, and high glycemic index is 70 to 100. Now, glycemic load is even more accurate as a measure. Why? I mentioned that GI or glycemic index is based on whatever quantity of food equals 50 grams of carbohydrate. However, what is the amount you actually eat? That is going to give you a much more accurate measure of a food's effect on you than an arbitrary standard based on 50 grams of carbohydrate. So I'm more interested in the glycemic load of a food as compared to the glycemic index. In other words, you could eat a high glycemic index food that has a low glycemic load. So let's talk about some of the factors that create damage in the body other than sugar and some of their natural aids. We hear a lot about acid-alkaline imbalance, though I tend to think that this is overemphasized and it's quite difficult to create an excess acid condition in the body. Our body actually has a variety of basic mechanisms for maintaining its proper alkaline tilted balance. Under conditions of stress and excessive meat, grains, and dairy in the diet, this could err us on the acid side of the fence. For all kinds of reasons, less wheat and dairy, more vegetables are important to health. As I mentioned, deep breathing as well as aloe vera and greens are good ways to alkalize your body. Anaerobic tendency. Well, the anaerobic tendency is a tendency to run on inadequate oxygen. It refers to the fact that every cell of our body runs on oxygen. Now think of those people, could be you with rounded shoulders or very sedentary life with a lack of exercise. We've already discussed the importance of breath. So yes, move, breathe, and live. Of course, correcting anemia can also be important, as this impedes the amount of oxygen our body can carry to the cells. Inflammation is a critical factor in the foundations of all manner of diseases. So reducing chronic inflammation is important for health and tissue integrity at every age. A wide range of food plants have antioxidant potential to one extent or another due to their polyphenol content. However, bioavailability of these anti-inflammatory factors, that is the amount that you actually absorb, depends on various conditions, especially how it is processed and cooked. Certain herbs have strong anti-inflammatory value, such as curcumin, ginger, and Chinese skullcap. Of course, there are also the omega-3 oils, proanthocyanidins, veggies, and berries. We'll get into all of this somewhat more detail later on. Connective tissue is the packing tissue of the body, the stuff that is the substance of the tissue that overlies muscle. It also forms the cartilage and the capsule elements of our joints. Another example would be the thick material that pads our feet and the ends of our nose. With age, connective tissue begins to break down. Here are some of the factors that will help you in the repair and restoration of connective tissue, including your joint structure. Aloe vera stimulates the cells that produce connective tissue. The soy isoflavone genistein both stimulates connective tissue production and inhibits the enzymes involved in connective tissue breakdown. Vitamin C is a very important structural component, so very important supplement when you're trying to repair connective tissue. For the care of joints and tendons, glucosamine, MSM, and chondroitin, also structural components, seem to be more effective when taken in combination. Now the herb Polygonum multiflorum can be remarkable in connective tissue repair, though it requires only small dosages of the tincture, such as 5 to 10 drops a few times daily. In Chinese medicine, Polygonum is regarded as a herb that confers longevity. Research shows that pho tea enhances liver cell regeneration, as well as stimulating the production of a variety of bone marrow stem cell factors, which the body can use for all kinds of reparative and protective functions for liver, bone, connective tissue, etc. It has a long history of traditional use in China, where it is sometimes known as pho tea. The pho tea preparation used should be from what is termed processed pho tea, which is made from cooking the sliced root in a juice made from cooking black beans. Then the root is dried and an alcohol extraction is made from this dried root as a tincture. There are reports of rare liver issues with this herb, though they would certainly have been much larger dosages. Toxicology research shows that processed faux dramatically reduces the liver toxic elements and increases the medicinal elements, as does extraction with alcohol. And yes, the root inspires the imagination, and sometimes, rarely, looks eerily like an ancient carving of a person. It reminds us yet again that the template for the human form seems to show up quite often in nature. By the way, consider this a preview of the herbal section in part 5, though I must admit I became fascinated with this plant and went much further than I actually had intended. In any event, not only is this plant great for loose or tense connective tissue and tendons, this is an example of a plant with quite deep action promoting repair throughout the body. Now let's talk about oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is essentially similar to the process of rusting, where the action of moisture on steel or iron damages the metal by producing oxides. Our rust is caused by oxidative stress that is mostly a side effect of the production of energy in the body. Energy production requires oxygen and produces waste factors in this process. The term free radicals describes a variety of species of molecules and atoms with unpaired electrons that are the most significant part of that waste. These are short-lived but can be highly damaging. This is similar to a car engine using gasoline, a rich hydrocarbon mix, and producing toxic carbon monoxide as waste. Our cellular engine's waste is primarily in the form of singlet oxygen atoms that can cause damage throughout the cell. While our body has ways of protecting us from free radical damage, such as glutathione, superoxide dismutase, vitamin C and E, alpha-lipoic acid, coenzyme Q10, and many food factors, as we age or under various conditions, we lose our capacity to fight free radical stress. Many aspects of aging are the result of free radical damage, so increasing our protective capacity, particularly through antioxidant foods, can impact the aging process. A few further words about oxidative stress. Oxygen is a basic requirement for the creation of energy within the cell. This energy creating process occurs within a cellular organelle called the mitochondria. In simple terms, the mitochondria is an engine that takes oxygen and nutrition in the form of fat or sugar and turns it into the molecules that are involved in most of the energy exchanges that occur within the cell. However, there's a catch. As we've just described, when that oxygen is metabolized or burned as fuel, it creates a broken down form of oxygen which can damage the mitochondria and all other cellular components, including the DNA itself and the cell membrane, even causing cell death. Antioxidants grab the free oxygen before too much damage occurs. Glutathione is considered the master antioxidant in the body. Mice that are genetically engineered to minimize their level of glutathione cannot survive more than a few days, so intense is the cellular damage caused by oxidative stress. Our natural antioxidant systems are very powerful, but does wear with age and is stressed by wrong diet. Now, just to be clear though, free radicals play an important role in killing cancer cells and bacteria or viruses, as well as creating helpful biological stress. So there is a protective function to free radicals as well. It has been shown that there is a potential downside to excess intake of concentrated antioxidants. Vitamin C and E can inhibit some of the benefits of valuable health practices such as exercise. It is best to get our antioxidants from whole foods such as berries, kidney, black and pinto beans, nuts, organic cocoa powder, greens, whey, etc. And use concentrated antioxidants somewhat sparingly unless we're seeking particular therapeutic benefits. Since we're on this more technical side of things, as Stephen says, it's all about energy. And from the physical standpoint of energy, this is an illustration of the energy production cycle of the mitochondria, known as Krebs citric acid cycle, which is really the cellular metabolic endpoint and is primarily concerned with the production of a molecule called ATP. ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, is regarded as the cell's energy currency. There are about 1 billion ATP molecules in any given cell at any given moment, which says a lot about the activity going on within the cell. This has to be constantly replenished. It is our diet and the process of breathing that provides the materials for the construction of ATP. So you've now seen it. This is your energy currency, and one of our goals is to help you fill up your energy bank account. We already mentioned glycation, the bonding of proteins and sugars in the bloodstream or in the cells. This prevents the protein and sugar from doing what it is that they're supposed to do and creates a complex molecule called an advanced glycation end product, as I explained. This is a very big problem with diabetes, where circulating blood sugar is high, and another issue of aging, when our cells' capacity to properly absorb glycogen, the broken down form of sugar, is less efficient. Now, infection is huge. It can happen in so many ways and can have long-term consequences depending on the route of entry and the type of organism. Yet we have a wrong-headed infection fetish as a culture, with disinfectant wipes everywhere you turn and everyone having been on antibiotics multiple times. Yet each square inch of our skin has millions of bacteria, along with the trillions in our intestinal tract, mouths, ears, nose, vagina, etc. The creation and activity of bacteria in our intestinal tract plays an enormous role in the health of our immune system. The incessant activity of sterilization in hospitals has resulted in antibiotic-resistant superbugs. Antibiotics have affected human bacterial balance and immunity, and have led to antibiotic-resistant strains of gonorrhea, syphilis, and tuberculosis. We need to learn to live clean while scaling back our useless war on all things bacterial. We need to trust soap and water and scrubbing or peeling for most of our needs in this regard. We also need to stop going to doctors and getting antibiotics for our children for every cold and flu or even ear infections. This is very hard on their overall immune competence, making children more and more dependent on external aids as opposed to building their inherent immune strength, and is gradually building stronger and more resistant bacteria. So our interplay with bacteria is very complex, and reducing this to the simple equation, bacteria are bad, is foolish and not in our long-term best interests. Of course, in the handling of food, and particularly our use of industrial food, and especially from the meat and egg industries, it's wise to be aware of the risks and the importance of eating food that's properly prepared and less likely to be a source of pathogens. Need I also say that vegetables and fruits should also be appropriately cleaned before use. It's important to realize that the aging process, the general condition of our health, has much to do with the choices we make. While the aging process is genetically driven, as we can see at any family event, the surprising fact is that 65% of the aging process, in other words the majority, is under our own control by the choices that we make, including the exercise that we get or don't get, the food we eat, the supplements that we take, the water we drink, the air we breathe, the thoughts we think, and the feelings that we feel. All these factors play an enormous role in our aging process, and as far as I'm concerned, this is great news. You're not utterly consigned to fate. As I spoke of earlier, the choices that you make are enormously important to your functional and long-term wellness. Now let's just briefly mention stress. Stress is part of life. There's nothing inherently wrong with stress. Stress is really how we grow in life, whether that stress is emotional or physical. Exercise is a form of stress that leads to better health. Imagine though if you were doing daily exercise and eating junk and the effect that that would have on your exercise capacity. We have to know how to balance stress with the right health practices. Stress, if we handle it well, can cause if we don't handle it well rather, can cause many health issues. What we're seeking is resilience, the ability to adapt physically and psychologically in stressful circumstances. Do you get a cold every time a cold goes round? Do you become easily anxious or blue under rather trivial stresses? Meditation, yoga, exercise, massage, personal growth work, and of course the kind of diet, specialized nutritional mechanical supplements, and principles of awareness that we've discussed and will be discussing are all part of developing a more effective, adaptive response. Here's the thing, resilience is a key indicator of health. I can't emphasize enough the deep value of a regular, quiet sitting practice. I began meditation in September of 1971 and have meditated on almost a daily basis ever since. Of course, there are so many methods of meditation, and that is confusing for some. But if you are simply interested in meditation as a way to chill out and get centered, or start your day with some inner calm, the method is less important than regularity. If you're interested, you'll want to check out our presentation on the subject. In the meantime, notice the remarkable research-based benefits associated with meditation. It reduces stress in the body, as well as brain aging. Meditation improves concentration and memory, slows cellular aging, improves overall brain function, as well as helping moods and self-esteem. I remember from my early days in naturopathic practice that when I came home from work, if I took some time to sit and meditate, I'd be aware that my whole system was absolutely vibrating from the intensities of the day. As I sat, gradually that sensation would pass and I would come back into the still, calm center and my whole nervous system would settle. Now imagine coming home from work and going straight into preparing dinner or interacting with the family, with kids, watching stimulating television, and then going to bed, never having released this vibrating condition. It is any wonder that so many people suffer from sleep and stress disorders. One of my favorite practices is to sit up and meditate before falling asleep at night. It can be a reflective, prayerful, and calming time and allows sleep to come very easily. I'm sure we can all agree that each of us is more or less unique. In our physical body type, let alone our personalities, each of us is like a unique snowflake. Therefore, each of us has different needs and responds differently to foods, nutrients, etc. While the simple act of eating a plant food-based natural food diet is one of the foundational rules of the game, even within that context, what is beneficial for 10 may be poison for 1. For instance, my body can't take eggplant. Now, no way, no how. There are people who can't eat one food or another that you or I may take for granted. So all our advice has to be given with this one point in mind, that each of us is uniquely constituted, and it is always the first principle to honor the uniqueness of each person, and important for each person to respect their own uniqueness by paying attention to how they respond to foods, herbs, supplements, or alterations of their diet. This is far, far, far more important than the recommendations given in any given book or from any given healthcare practitioner. What is true for one or generalized from the experience of one or even many will not necessarily be good for everyone. So we're at the end of part 3. Beyond this stage, we get well into the nitty-gritty of the program food-wise, and we'll see you there. In the meantime, I want to remind you that you're welcome to share your thoughts, insights, and experiences by writing to me personally.